Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today for the LeadHERS series, part one, with the incomparable Andrea Hawkins. Today, we are having a community and conversations identity in privilege conversation. My name is Julie DeLuca Collins, and I am the co-chair of the Engagement Committee for Women United. We are so thrilled that you can join us. And today, our session, we are going to have a candid conversation so that we can review identity and various type of diversity and dimensions, explore privilege and the implications of privilege, discussions and what types of privilege, social, financial, religious, are encountered, and what is important to you. We're so glad that you can join us. So again, thank you for being a part of this event. We are thrilled to kick off the LeadHERS series for Women United. Lauren, I want to turn it over to you. I'm sorry, the program overview is we will have a couple of different discussions on the volunteer opportunity, the ConnectHERS program, other upcoming events. We will move on to our keynote with Andrea and a closing. So thank you for joining us.
Thanks so much, Julie, and welcome everyone. We are so happy to have you all here today. Just a special shout out to my team that helped put this event together, Melissa O'Hara and Sandy Perio-Simmons, who are both unfortunately not able to attend today based on work commitments, but they did a great deal to get this up and running for us. So thank you to them. So I just wanted to take a moment, as we typically like to kind of remind ourselves why we are here and why we organize together as Women United and what we are up to as Women United. So we make long-term commitments to financial stability and education initiatives for children. We deliver measurable and sustainable change within our local community. We prioritize fundraising efforts to support financial stability initiatives and ensure scalable success. We also like to cultivate a culture of empowering each other and empowering women, which means empowering each other personally, professionally, and through philanthropic growth for our members and our program recipients. So just to kind of cover a little bit of our impact, so we do step up to volunteer in the community in a variety of ways. Neelam will be sharing ways that you can get involved today by becoming a United Way reader or volunteering for our Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program, which we refer to as VITA. We also fundraise to support our financial stability efforts through two major events that we host. So Red, White, and Chocolate, which you'll hear more about in just a moment, and then also Power of the Purse. So these events since 2012 have raised about 1.7 million, and they fund programs that ensure participants can identify financial goals, develop realistic budgets, reduce debt, build savings, increase income, and receive career coaching. You can visit our website today or reach out to me directly to get more involved, to become a member, or to volunteer or donate. We appreciate your support, and I do have the volunteer links and our website link in the chat, and I'll enter them again for your ease. All right, turning it over to Neelam.
Okay, thank you, Lauren. I am Neelam Arora. I am also very happy to welcome you all as I am getting ready to get more involved with this group as the co-chair, partnering with Julie DeLuca Collins for the Women's United for our interim term over the next 6 months. So very, very excited to get to know this group a little bit better and get more involved. What I wanted to just to take a couple minutes to go over some of the volunteer opportunities upcoming. The 2022 tax season is already kicked off, and there is a need for tax assistant volunteers. All you have to do is commit to a 1 4-hour shift from mid-January to mid-April. Don't need any experience. They particularly are looking for Spanish-speaking bilingual volunteers. So if you're interested, please reach out. The other opportunity here is the United Way Readers program to support our K-3 students across our region. This program is running from November through May and requires a time commitment of 30 to 60 minutes each week. Again, no experience is necessary. If you are bilingual, that's even better. And the sessions are all virtual. There are some limited in-person options available. So if you're interested, please feel free to reach out. The United Way LeadHERS program. So this is a new program that's being rolled out to support our new members as part of their onboarding by pairing them with our veterans members in the community who've been here engaged with the group for some time to help ease the transition into the group. If you're interested, please contact Julia Johnson Vincent. And we'll look forward to seeing some people join this group. All right, red, white, and chocolate. Very happy to announce that this year we're going to have this event in person at Delamar, West Hartford on January 27th. So please mark your calendars. It'll be a great event, great venue from 6 to 9, and the tickets are going on sale next week, Lauren. So looking forward to seeing all of you, and also encouraging your friends and family members to join on this great, one of our 2 signature fundraisers for this year. Thank you, Lauren. Turn it over back to you. Oh, okay. I'll go with here all of the events that were in chocolate. We talked about the annual meeting is March 8th, 8 to 9. Our second Leaders Part 2 event is on May 11th. And Power of the Purse is coming up June 16th. Expect more to come on that event. But the preparations have already started. Okay, back to you, Lauren.
Well, I will take it, Neelam. Thank you so much. And just to reiterate, as a former chair for Red, White, and Chocolate, it is a phenomenal event. It is in person. Make sure that you attend. Tickets go on sale if you're a member. Tickets are $65. If you're a non-member, $75. But we're moving to a larger venue that is going to allow us to have greater space and accessibility to come back in person. Let's make this a successful event as always. And thank you, Neelam. And now it is my pleasure to introduce to the group our guest speaker for today. And our speaker is the founding partner and CEO of Leading Cultural Solutions, Andrea Hawkins. And Andrea has a boutique consulting firm that serves organizational primarily in 6 practice areas: strategic planning, organizational effectiveness, culture transformation, leadership development, interim leadership, and diversity, equity, and inclusion. And she approaches leadership with a unique blend of emotional intelligence and strategic consulting that helps organizations build employee and customer-based solutions by linking innovation with culture. She has over 20 years of experience as an executive leadership roles, leading teams from finance, operations, and IT, marketing, learning at a Fortune 500 and Fortune 100 companies across many different fields. We are so fortunate to be able to have her here today speaking to us in this important conversation that will certainly be able to inspire us, educate, motivate us to go out and make a difference. So, Andrea, thank you again for coming, and let's welcome her to Women United LeadHERS series.
Hello, Julie. Thank you so much for that very warm introduction. I am so honored to be here with all of you today, and I promise you that we are going to do some learning today, but you're probably going to sneak in a little bit of fun. while we are doing some learning along the way. First, I want to just say I'm so honored because I see so many people that I love on the screen. There's so many familiar faces. I see Kimberly and Rebecca and Adrian and Dewana and just so many. I could sit here and say I'm just so honored to have all of you here. I would be completely remiss if I did not recognize my very capable team who are taking time during their lunch break to be with us today. So Shannon Burke, hello, thank you for joining us. Shannon De Silva White, thank you for being here. Ebony Heatley, so Ebony and Shannon De Silva White are hailing from Atlanta, Georgia. So we are excited that they are taking time to be here with us, as well as my aunt, my dear aunt, because you have to have people who love you show up for you. So my aunt Yolanda, Dr. Yolanda Hawkins Rogers, is hailing here from Hackensack, New Jersey. So thank you all, and thank you for so many of the friends that I see joining us today. But let's get on with it because we don't have a lot of time and we've got a lot of stuff to do. So give me 1 minute while I prepare to share my screen here. It's going to take a little bit of a minute, and I'm not going to put it into the big screen mode because for some reason my internet here in Glastonbury, Connecticut, it really does not like Zoom for whatever reason. So it seems to work a little bit better when it's not in that full mode. So I just want to do a little check. Can everyone see my screen okay? Can I see just 1 or 2 thumbs up? Thank you, Julie. See, wonderful. All right, thank you, wonderful. Thank you for that. So just as a matter of housekeeping, if you are not speaking, will you please put your phone on mute so that we're not picking up any noises in the background, and that'll help everyone here. So do that for us. And then we're going to run into a few little ground rules to make sure we have a productive session. But before we do that, can we know who everyone is? Can you do me a favor and just jump in the chat and give us your first name and where are you here from? What town? If you're in Connecticut, what town are you in? If you're in another state, let us know. I know I shouted out some folks that were in different places. So first name and where are you from? Because an important part of diversity and inclusion is us seeing each other and us knowing who each other are. And so even in these fast, furious places where we're working, we still can take a minute to acknowledge and see each other. And I'm so excited to see you all in the chat. So Julie's from West Hartford, Victoria from San Antonio, Texas, wonderful. I see Julie from West Hartford, Beth is from Hartford, Dewana hailing from Middletown, Erica, Ellington. So just take a look and see who's here from your neighborhood. With this work around diversity and inclusion, it's about us understanding and seeing each other and finding out those areas where we have in common. It's not about trying to point out all the places that we're different. It's about trying to see our humanity and seeing each other as like people and as a connected system. So I love that you are all taking time to pop in here. So take a look and see who your friends are who are joining us today that felt it was important enough for them to take their lunchtime to come have this conversation. So welcome everyone, and let's keep going. So some of our objectives today are to really look at and investigate privilege. But before we jump into privilege, we want to make sure we have a good understanding of who are we and how do we identify. But we're going to take that information and step it forward to say, how does that inform our privilege? And what do we do with our privilege when we know and we recognize that we have it? So, but before we do, and just like I promised you, let's have some ground rules. It's important for us to have productive conversations together. And some of the biggest things that I see in organization have more to do with the fact that we don't create social contracts with one another, right? What's a social contract? That agreement that we're going to treat each other a certain way, right? So today, for today's conversation, I'm going to ask everybody to join in with me and make sure that we are on the same page about our social contract. So we're going to respect confidentiality. So why are we going to do that? Because when we take this conversation out of this room here, it's going to be hard to represent what was happening, what was said before something else was said. So we want to make sure we keep the conversation here, right, for our own benefit. We want to be open and we want to assume good intentions. All of you showed up because I would imagine you're hoping to learn something today. And part of it is to support me, and I love you all for that. But it's right. We also want to make sure we're learning something coming out of here. So let's just assume we have good intentions being here today. Because we've all had a different lived experience, let's speak from our own point of view. So I will tell you what life was like for me and my experience, and let's all sort of speak from our own point of view and use I statements. Isn't it interesting that when we listen, sometimes we're listening to try to respond to what's being said as opposed to try to understand what the person is saying when they're sometimes not saying something? So in this conversation today, let's make sure that we're doing some active listening and we're making sure that we're listening to understand. And then honoring our brave space. Someone may be courageous enough today to ask a question to understand something better. So let's try to honor that. Let's honor that bravery that somebody is willing to get out there and ask that uncomfortable question that they really want to know the answer to. And then finally, this last one is for people like me. Do we have any extroverts in the room besides me? Those of us who sort of talk, we speak in streams of consciousness. Thank you, Kimberly, for admitting that. I appreciate you. Right? So this one is for those of us that sort of think out loud. So share the air. So the acronym we use is Why Am I Talking? I want you to think about these ground rules, and I want you to think about how do you interact with folks on a day-to-day basis? How often are you utilizing these ground rules? I did not make them up. I learned them along the way. Feel free to take them, liberate them, bring them into your own organizations, and find ways to make sure that you are all being able to have these respectful conversations and this dialogue. So remembering these will help you have a more productive conversation. So let's get into it. Well, before that, did I miss anything important here that we should put on the page that's not here? I'm just going to do a quick little check. All right, looks like people are, that this is good enough to move along. So let's just do that. So as I promised you, we're going to talk first about identity and what it means. Like, what does identity mean for us? And the first thing I want to do, and you can feel free to come off of mute if you feel brave enough to answer this question. When you look at this, we call this a diversity wheel. What is the difference between what's in the inner wheel and what's on the outer wheel? And my team should not be guessing at this. And some of you I've done this with before, so you may know the answer. Who's brave enough to come off of mute?
Hi, this is Maria. What you are born with, right? Your age, your race, those are things you can't change. The other things are things that you have an active participation in.
I love that. Thank you, Maria. Right. And you said the perfect worlds. Things about us that we can't change are those things in the center. And things about us that we can change. So who wants to come again? Thank you, Maria, for being so brave. Is there anyone else that wants to come off of mute and tell me about what item used to be, one of those diversity dimensions used to be in the center is now in the outside? Anybody want to take a guess at which one used to be in the center? Kim, you raised your hand, but go ahead, come off of mute.
Gender.
Yeah, right. Gender and gender expression used to be in the center. We used to say, you're born with a gender, it can't change, but we know that gender is a social construct and that's evolving every single day. There's one that's in the center that soon won't be in the center. Anybody have any ideas which one of these is quickly moving out of the center? Gotta be one brave soul. Not mental and physical.
Sexuality. Sexuality.
Thank you. I'm hearing stereosexuality. That's right, right? More and more sexuality is becoming a social construct, right? So people want to define their own sexuality. They don't want someone else to define it for them, kind of like gender and gender expression. So as we start to see this diversity wheel, it will change over time. It will change. And some of these things may well move to that outer ring, things about us that we can change. So thank you. So I have a little exercise for you both. I want everyone here to take a look at this wheel. I want you to pick one thing from the inside and one thing from the outside. And I want you to pop into the chat. What one thing from the inside and one thing from the outside do you most closely identify with? And I'm going to join you in doing this. What is that one thing on the inside and one inner ring and one thing on the outer ring that you are identifying with? So thank you. Oh, Aaron, age and family. I said the same thing, age and family. I hope I did not influence that, but there are a lot of age and families here. Race, ethnicity, and family. Thank you. Mental ability and sexuality, age and gender, race, ethnicity, and family, age and religion, age and family, mental, physical ability, and family. Right, thank you. So thank you for sharing that. The one thing that stands out for me when I see all of you think, keep them coming, as I see you responding is, there are a few of us that identify in similar ways, but there are plenty more who identify in different ways. And a lot of this work that we do around diversity and inclusion is remembering that we may see ourselves in one way and someone else may see us in another way. And we're constantly in this point of reconciliation of how we see ourselves versus how others see us, right? So just think about this, that someone may see you some way that you don't see yourself, and you don't have to see yourself that way, that we all identify in different ways. And if you could, I would imagine if I said, well, pick all the ways that you identified, you would have picked several of these from the inside and from the outside. You've heard this, you may have heard this term monolith. We are not one dimensional, we are not monoliths, right? So this idea of there is a lot of intersectionality going on for each of us. So just keep that in mind when you think about people and you think about the diversity of people and how these diversity dimensions can come into play. Let's keep moving because you're about to jump into the fun part. All right, so let's talk about privilege. Who here has heard of the golden rule? Someone please come off of mute and tell me what the golden rule is. Someone's got to know it.
Do unto others. Yep, do unto others as you would do to them.
Exactly, right? Treat people the way you want to be treated. And when we think about equity, we think of the platinum rule. And I know I got some DE&I folks here on the call, but when we think about the platinum rule, what is the platinum rule?
Treat others as they want to be treated.
Exactly. And so, right, I can't treat you the way you want to be treated unless I understand who you are. So when we think about DE&I, diversity, equity, and inclusion, that piece around equity is really important to think about. The only way that I can be equitable to you is that I understand who you are and what you need and what you want. So I've got to get to know you. It's got to be more, who are you? How do you identify? What's important to you? What do you value? What don't you value in order for me to be equitable to you? So taking that a step further and thinking about privilege, Privilege is a benefit or an advantage that some people have and others do not. So when you look at these two images here, you can see the difference here. With equality, everyone gets the exact same box. But with equity, people get what they need. Some people need a ramp. Some people need 2 boxes. Some people don't need a box at all. So how are we creating opportunities in our work environments and other organizations that we're a part of to make sure that everyone gets what they're needing? And similarly with the racetrack and where people are starting off. Okay. So when we think about privileges, we think of things like being male, owning your own home, having mental health, not having mental health challenges, being college educated, being thin, being Christian, being white, identifying with your sex that's assigned at birth, multi-income, having a multi-income household, your physical health, being heterosexual, being sighted, being a US or UK citizen, being perceived as attractive, or having a car or some other vehicle, means of transportation. So here's where you get to have some fun, and I'm going to get a little bit of help from Lauren. So you're getting ready to jump into a group together. You're going to have 15 minutes to chat with one another in your groups. And basically, you're going to be given $5. You're going to come into this room that you're going to be assigned to very soon, and you're going to have $5 to spend. We want you to use that $5 to identify the 5 privileges that your group wants to have. When you go into this room and you select your privileges, you come into that room with nothing. If you are male, you are not male. If you are white, you are not white. If you are Christian, you are not Christian. You have nothing. You are going in privilege-less, okay? So that is the hardest part of this exercise, is unlearning everything that you have from a privilege standpoint. So we want you to just keep that in mind going into this. And I am going to pop into the chat. And I want you to, I've just loosely explained what I'd like you to do. I want to see if there are any questions before we send you off. I'm gonna copy and paste the instructions if my computer will cooperate with me. Give me 1 second. You have $5 to spend. You have to unanimously agree coming out of this exercise. So here are your privileges. You're going to have 15 minutes. Any questions before we send you off? We need you to make sure you're assigning 3 roles. You're going to have a recorder. You're going to have a scribe. Oh, that's your recorder. You're going to have a reporter. That's what I'm looking for. And a timekeeper. Okay. Any questions about the exercise? Unanimous decision. Remembering your ground rules and making sure every voice in the group gets heard. Go ahead, there was a question.
I have a question. It's Renee. Could you tell me cited? What definition are we using for cited?
So it means you have good vision. You can see. You don't need any assistance in terms of being able to see.
Okay.
Okay. So when you come back, so I want you to give some thought to this. What 5 privileges did you pick, and where did you struggle? So we're going to come back and debrief that as a full group. All right. If there are no more questions, Lauren, I'm ready for the groups to go.